then yeah, so the silver spot price could get hammered. Silver physical prices, no, they're not getting hammered. They're pretty stable. Look at your local retail outlet for coins, and they've gone a little bit down, but they're pretty stable. That's the real price of silver. The rest is speculators being squeezed out. Squeeze them all out, and hold on. This is the third time it's happening, so you can't say it's new.
Yet, in the meantime, that doesn't make for the easiest environment for a lot of the companies that have to go out and mine silver, because at the same time, you have rising costs of just about everything, as evidenced by the CPI and PPI.
Uh, the dividend is a new thing. I think they've only been paying it for 3 quarters or something. So dividends for silver miners are relatively new. Most silver miners don't pay dividends at all. But I do expect this to grow. And some gold miners, I think Hecla is one of them, have created like a gold linked or a silver linked price to to a special dividend. I expect that to happen as well. And the in an endgame scenario, right, where the dollar can't really buy much, then companies that pay dividends in dollars are it's not going to be worth much, but gold and silver mining companies like First Majestic will be able to pay out in silver certificates, which would still have market value even in the event of a hyperinflationary scenario. So this is why you should own miners, not really to buy low and sell high, but to have a stream of real money for when you would need it for the end game. Well, I try to divide it up. I mean, I have silver coins for emergency if the currency breaks down and you really can't use it to buy anything, so you need something to buy things with, because what else are you going to do? So that's my emergency stock. For gold and silver miners, I get look for people who have debts, who want to pay them off in cheap dollars, and you got to sell some silver at a huge profit. You just pay down your nominal debts and get out of it. Do it. But personally, I'm going to hold them through the end game, and my intention is to hopefully glean some gold and silver dividends in that event. And I really I don't know exactly what's going to happen in that scenario, but I do know that gold and silver miners will be very valuable because money is the commodity that will be in the most demand, and they will be the ones that produce it. Just like the Fed produces money now in an inflationary environment, the equivalent of central banks in an endgame environment will be the miners because they will be their own central banks producing money physically. Yeah. So this shows you a good difference between between First Majestic and Fortuna, both good companies, but they have different strengths, different weaknesses. Look, if you want a dividend stock, then First Majestic is your stock because I see that dividend growing. But Fortuna is having an easier time with managing the cost inflation because they're hedged against diesel, so their costs haven't risen as much as First Majestic, which is not hedged against diesel. I checked their at least I didn't see any indication of that. So, then for now, Fortuna isn't paying a dividend. Do they plan to in the future? I think at some point they will. But yeah, there are these different types of mining companies, some for capital growth and some for dividends, and it's a good mix. Well, BlackRock is an explorer, and look, these can be very exciting companies, especially in an environment where we expect a slingshot. And look, at this point right now, with everything crashing, these companies are going to be selling at heavy, heavy discounts, and they are not going to last. As long as these exploration companies are well funded, and BlackRock definitely is, then yeah, they will be starting production. And when they do, I expect silver to be in a much better position because the discount, once again, is not going to last very long. Certainly, it's not going to last into the point where BlackRock becomes, a mid-tier company. So if you're looking for good explorers, then yeah, BlackRock would be one of them. No, it doesn't, but we've seen a smash of explorers before in the depth of the 2015, gold and silver bear market. Some of these companies were trading below cash. Uh, they had cash on their portfolio on their balance sheet. Their stock prices were below the value of their market caps were below cash. We're not there yet. I don't know if we'll get that deep down there, but there a lot of the good explorers survived the 2015 bear market. and BlackRock will survive this because we're not in a silver bear market and we're not going into one. Even if it dips to a crazy level like it did in 2020, it's gonna be a very, very short story, just like it was back then. It will be this time. There's nothing new under the sun. History repeats itself, and it's repeating itself in faster and faster spirals now. And we're getting to the end of this. It's getting close. I mean, look, when they went into the business, we all knew how silver behaved. So if you're going to fund yourself, if you're going to get funding, and the people that are giving you money also know that very temporarily silver can dip in crazy sell-offs. I mean, that's not anything that people haven't seen before. So presumably, if they're getting funded with the assumption that this could happen, and when it does happen, it's very short-lived, and you can survive it, which is why they're being funded in the first place.
Yeah, and last one for you, Rafi. Do you think are we close to something like 2020 where it went to 12 and then a couple months later it was getting right up to that $30 level? I don't know if it was tamped down then, but I mean, you could say in a sense with how much money has been printed since the COVID era. I know a year ago people were saying, well, 40% of the dollars in existence were printed in the last year. And now in the last 2 years, that number is even bigger. So is $20 silver, $21 silver today? You might be able to make the case it's almost as cheap as $12 silver a couple of years ago, which isn't to say that this is the bottom, but in the context of what's happening in the world, are we getting close to the point where this is a similar situation?
In time or in price? In price, it's really hard to know because you have to know where, there could be a whale in the futures market somewhere that has all these contracts that have been accumulating. Nobody really knows. So if they're liquidated for whatever reason, let's say, some crazy example, got some trader or some institution with hundreds of contracts or thousands of contracts of silver betting on it, and they're also betting on Bitcoin because they're also Bitcoin enthusiasts, and all of a sudden they get margin called on Bitcoin. They have to sell their silver futures to fund it. Something like that. There's all these kinds of weird things that could happen that you just don't know. So where the bottom is in terms of dollars, you never know. In terms of time, I think the end is coming this year. I'm seeing, during the seasonal dip of money supply growth, it usually happens around August, September. I think there's going to be some kind of monetary catastrophe that happens around there. Am I 100% sure? No, I'm never claiming that. But yeah, I'm getting. I don't think they can survive. I don't think the monetary system can survive this year. And if it does, I'll be ready for that too.